Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Tuesday.
Not doing too much here in the studio, just kind of sitting around, which is making me feel ultimately lazy because a Canadian grandma and Albertan grandmother just broke the world record for planking. 4.5 hours to break the women's record, like the one held in the Guinness book, that is. This is wild. Donna Jean Wild, specifically. Haha, get it? That's her name. She's 58. She planked for 4 hours, 30 minutes, 11 seconds, which just eked out the last record holder by 10 minutes. Another Canadian, Dana Glauca, in 2019. So, maybe it'll be broken at some point in the future. Maybe she'll have to defend that title, but for now, Donna Jean is on top in the world. This is really cool as well. She did the planking, the certified videoed planking for the 4.5 hours plus at the former school, or I guess the current school, where she formerly worked as vice principal before retiring. Just incredible to see. Also, making me feel not so incredible, because I know that I could probably not do it for 4.5 minutes, but, you work up to it, don't you? Embarrassing, at least for the members of the band, performance of Basket Case by Green Day, and that is only because they used the original demo lyrics, which Billy Joe Armstrong has previously called embarrassingly bad. This was after receiving an award presented by Avril Lavigne. That was the Landmark Award at the iHeartRadio Awards that happened just this weekend, and no April Fools about it. They were honored, they were celebrated, and then they performed. And got a little embarrassed, a little sheepish. Bruce Springsteen, while in concert, he had to postpone so many concerts due to health reasons, medical reasons, but he's back at it now and in full swing. And at one of the recent concerts on Sunday at the Chase Center in San Francisco, a young fan in the front row had a sign that said, "Skipping school, sign my note?" ? To which, of course, he obliged. I'm not sure if it's binding as far as school policy, wherever the district is that kid goes, but at least he's got a souvenir out of the situation no matter what.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
Google has now committed to destroying billions of records from secret data tracking that you didn't even know about as part of a lawsuit settlement. No, you won't ever see any money from it personally, nor I. But I honestly do think it is a big step. It's a good step towards maintaining, I guess, some sense of privacy and security online. It's not so easy because you are constantly being tracked by everything in the name of selling you more stuff. Sometimes it's convenient and thoughtful, genuinely. Most of the time it's way too aggressive and invasive, including when you think that you have protections on from browsing in an incognito mode, or even when using many of the VPNs that are available. So, again, I say to you, Google, no, you can't have access to my exact location information just because I asked you to search for the name of that one guy who was in that movie where they did that thing in it back in that year. Sad news for those who are fans of, many different shows. SCTV is the first one that comes to mind for me, but Freaks and Geeks, as well as several movies. Joe Flaherty, the veteran Canadian comedian and actor, has passed away. He was 82, and it was confirmed on social media as happening as of yesterday, and didn't really hit until today, likely because there might have been some confusion on April Fool's Day, of course, that makes everybody raise an eyebrow about everything they read on the internet, and as well it should. But unfortunately, he has passed away. The original SCTV player, which, many people can say that. John Candy could, Eugene Levy could, Andrea Martin, Catherine O'Hara, Harold Ramis, even Dave Thomas. They were all there right from the beginning. But I think the only one who truly lasted through the entire series, without, not counting the guest appearances that would happen in later seasons, right through the dropping from the Toronto production company when they moved to Edmonton and continued on, Joe Flaherty was there all the way till the end. In fact, after SCTV ended in the mid-'80s, he actually returned as the character The Count, when he's doing the Dracula thing, for a special video that was commissioned for Rush that they would play at concerts and the like. And beyond that, probably a little bit more globally well known for his role in Freaks and Geeks, which was just such a great show. Underrated. He will be dearly, dearly missed. For all the laughs, big thank you to Joe.
Wednesday.
Music is coming. We've got a very, very special announcement this morning coming to us from Keyano College and the Keyano College Foundation's fundraiser of the year, the Gala, a little bit later on. I know it's in November, but big announcement this morning for it. Tell us what is happening. What's to be excited about?
Well, the premier Gala event of the year is coming back. It has to. It absolutely has to. For its 43rd year, Keyano Gala 2024, presented by our friends at Boucher, fabulous partners with us for years now.
Many years
now,
They've
been so great. It's going to be happening Saturday, November 2nd at the St. Croix Sport and Wellness Center. We're going to, completely transform the field house in the SSWC once again to a new theme this year based on Canada's natural wonders.
Okay, of which we have a great many in this huge nation of ours.
Absolutely. We're on the radio station right now, so we want to talk music.
Music.
We want to talk
about.
music.
I'm so excited
we're
about
excited about the musical announcement. 4 guys coming up here to play some music. They play in a little band together, but they also play in 4 other bands as well. What I love about this band is that their album together, all of these great 70s and 60s tunes, Canadian tunes that people love, and then each one of them is in a band from, the 90s and 2000s, and they're going to play songs from all 4 of their bands. Has anybody figured it out yet?
Right? Yeah.
These guys have been here before, put on an incredible show. Everybody said that their last show was amazing, so we thought it would be great to bring them back to Fort McMurray this year. I'm talking about the Trans-Canada Highwaymen.
Yeah, so we're talking, premier black tie fundraising event at Fort McMurray, premier supergroup of Canadiana coming to perform for us.
Right? Members of Odds, members of The Pursuit of Happiness, members of a member of Sloan, and then we've got Stephen Page, ex Bare Naked Ladies, all together in one great, incredible act, and all of that's going to be part of Gala this year. Plus, the Dorina Harvey Band is going to be opening up. Alberta's own Celtic rock, East Coast vibe. It's all going to be in one big, we just were going coast to coast, man.
And it's a big, shiny affair at the Keyano Gala every year, but it's an intimate thing. It's only 900 people coming to bump elbows together. So, if you really want to get your tickets, I know that actual tickets are not on sale yet, but you can lock in your chance to go and check this out by supporting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. Tickets on sale, general public GA tickets are going to go on sale in August, as they always do. But if you want a table and tickets right now, you got to do the sponsorship. But sponsorship's the best way to do it because that locks in helping out students right off the bat, right? And that helps us do everything that we can to make this happen. And we've got some really cool sponsorship levels that people can sign up for, local businesses, individuals. There's a level for everybody that can fit in if you want to help the college, if you want to make sure the students have the best student experience possible. We got lots of things in there. And I can't, as we were talking about entertainment, I cannot go any further without thanking our friends at Birch Mountain Enterprises, Fort McKay First Nation, and Fort McKay Group of Companies as our entertainment sponsor, right? They came on once again before we even let them know who it was going to be because they were pumped to be a part of this too. So,
that's cool.
Anyways, if you want a sponsorship, give me a call. Or just check out keyano.ca/gala. That's what I was supposed to say. Give me a call.
This is something to put on the calendar, look forward to for many months now, but we cannot wait to welcome back again the Trans-Canada Highwaymen.
People look forward to this every year. Just put a big circle around November 2nd, mark that date off, figuring out what you're going to wear, get that tux ready. This is still our classy black tie affair, and we're going to have some great food as well that is just elevated versions of Canadian classics too. Yes, there will be something like poutine, but it won't necessarily just be poutine. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. So November is when it's happening. The 2nd, of course, tickets in August, but right now is the only way to lock in your chance to attend with sponsorship package availability, keyano.ca/gala. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Steve.
Black Keys just announced a new tour that's not coming close to home, unfortunately. It is an international tour, in fact, called the International Players Tour. There is only one Canadian date, though we can't really, discredit the fact that they're not calling it a North American tour, so one Canadian date I guess we should be thankful for, and that's Toronto in October. Tickets do go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. ABBA gonna be maybe coming to Vegas. It looks like they have struck a multi-million-dollar deal to take their Voyage show. This is the avatars, the hologram show, to several locations around the world, including Las Vegas. They've been in talks for what is reportedly a while. But their success in London has translated. We'll see exactly what goes on as far as an official announcement, possibly in the near future. And Canadian, in fact, Albertan duo That's Tegan and Sarah. They have now penned an open letter titled Artists Against Anti-Trans Legislation in Canada that has been supported, shared, and co-signed by several other prominent figures. Elliot Page, Neil Young, Alanis Morissette, Carly Rae Jepsen, and a whole lot more, to the tune of 400 plus. Signing, declaring that far-right groups tapping into the fear, pitting against people against each other, creating a Canada where we are afraid of difference, using trans people as a punching bag and convenient scapegoat is no longer acceptable in any way, shape, or form. The reality is, Canada is not immune to the global attack on the trans community and their access to inclusive spaces, healthcare, and freedoms. We were asking the big question a little earlier today, as we often do on Wednesday mornings, to get the brain cells woken up to last through the rest of the week. That is the whole point. Brain juices. And the question this morning is, what did your parents tell you was true, but as an adult you realize is absolutely not? Nothing but bold-face lies. And no, we're not talking about any, like, holiday-related ones. I mean, sure, that's kind of a standard. But, no, I mean, in general, like, life stuff. Stacey jumped on to say it is illegal to turn on the cab lights in the car while you're driving. Can never do that. Yeah, my parents made me feel like it was as well. Turns out, not so much. Not so much, just don't be distracted. Ashley jumping on to say, I came here to say that. Amy with a very specific one. I hadn't heard of this, but I get it makes sense. That DAP, DAP drywall spackling was hot in temperature. Obviously, that was so that she wouldn't play with it, but didn't know that it wasn't true until she was an adult, thinking that stuff, it's, like endothermic or something. Gets hot to cure, to bake onto the walls. Not so much.
Thursday.
Ottawa just named the shawarma capital of Canada. By themselves, I might add. It was a motion passed at Ottawa City Council, apparently. Just reading about it, because I was curious. I was like, oh, well, who else got what else? I thought it was a poll or a survey or something online. What other cities became the capital of whatever? No, it was just an isolated thing. They did it for themselves. But, to be fair, they do have more than 200 shawarma shops, I've learned, so it's hard to argue against. Did get me wondering, though, about what our city council could declare would Buffalo the food capital of Canada over. And then I really had to think, what would it be? Garlic fingers? Donairs, maybe? And we have some really incredible ones and quite a few offerings, but unfortunately, the answer would probably be liquor stores. Have you heard of speech fasting? Latest new trendy term on the internet. People are sharing it because it's, it's hot and fresh, like a good pizza should be, but it's also the most polite way to tell somebody to shut the hell up. And she goes speech fasting for a while. This has been stirred up by Scottish legacy singer Lulu, who is 75 and is protective of her instrument. Recently saying that she's, on days that she's performing anyway, she won't speak or won't even whisper until at least noon. She's in an extended state of silence, she calls it. I mean, at 75, you're still singing all the time? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, you're singing all the time at 7.5. Why not? Rest your instrument. I get it. But not exactly practical for most people. If you have to get the kids or your spouse or both up and out the door in the morning, or when you host a radio morning show, for instance. But every once in a while, a rare while, this sort of thing happens kind of organically, I find. It happens to me. I can't even remember the last time it did, but kind of a scenario where you manage to have a free morning on a weekend, no one's around, and you just make a solitary coffee, let yourself wake up slowly, and then realize, I haven't even said anything today. Somebody asks you to, calls you on the phone, somebody asks you to go grab something, you go to answer, and your voice is all raspy, you go, wait, no, I haven't even used this thing today. That is glorious when it happens.
Hey, Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
With all of the various things going on in the world, apparently a priority is to give the moon a time zone. I guess they're running down this dream That would be the American government talking to NASA, the American Association, about giving the moon an official time zone, basically so that everybody can be synced. It makes sense. It does. Which time zone does it sync up with? That is a bigger question, but it does make sense to actually have a time zone so that anybody who's dealing with that kind of space exploration can know exactly what time it is at the exact same time as each other without having to check the watch and make the calculation, you know? And they'll figure out which time zone to actually make it line up with. I don't know, maybe Greenwich Mean Time or whatever. But if we're doing this, giving the moon a time zone, that is, if we're taking the time, can we also just get rid of daylight saving down here on the planet while we're at it, among a few other pressing issues? That Paul McCartney inclusion, the Beatles inclusion of Blackbird in Cowboy Carter, Beyonce's new album, a version, was given with Paul McCartney's blessing. But of course, the actual acoustic guitar and foot-tapping recordings from the original 1968 master recording are what was featured in that track on the album, and couldn't be more thrilled, Paul McCartney, that is, to take part, to be involved, to contribute. And meanwhile, Kiss is saying goodbye to all of their recordings, their entire catalog, their brand name, and the intellectual property under the general umbrella of Kiss has been acquired by a group called Pop House. There's going to be a biopic. There's going to be an Avatar show, much like what we've heard from ABBA in the past, and as well, a Kiss-themed experience already underway. And this was a big announcement this morning. The investment firm completely written things down with a signed name on the dotted line. Everything is now done. Although Gene Simmons is quick to jump on the internet to describe what has happened as a collaboration. I'm not exactly sure that legally that stands by, but hopefully they will actually be involved as much as they possibly can be. Gmail turned 20 years old this very week, just a few days ago, in fact. Kind of snuck by us. Sorry, I didn't get you anything, Gmail. So sorry, I forgot. So many people are sharing their embarrassing original email addresses online. And I'm over here being embarrassed by the fact that I still use my original Gmail email. It's only mildly embarrassing, really, and it's now like the catch-all address, since we can't only ever have just one now. So there's the professional ones, and then there's the Gmail, and everything goes into there. It's great, but it was my Hotmail email addresses, plural, that were really the embarrassing choices, mainly because of my super cool idea to create a new one every year. That's helpful for people keeping in touch, but based on the school year that I was in as well, so it got extra confusing. So it would be something like Steve_Reeve_2000_2001 at Hotmail, you know, and then Steve Reeve _2001_2002. I was still learning, okay? Just thank God you can't see my MySpace page.
Friday.
It's a sad day, as it is the 30-year mark since the death of Kurt Cobain back in 1994 in April. John was just jumping on the post we made on Facebook to say it's hard to believe it's been 30 years. He says, I had the pleasure of seeing Nirvana live in Edmonton at a dive bar just months before Smells Like Teen Spirit debuted. They sounded so different. The song Nevermind became an anthem to the entire generation. It really did. And that was the one and only time that Nirvana graced a stage in Edmonton. And it was just, a weird time for the band and for the world. I think it was an absolutely overnight explosion of fame after this album came out. There was kind of a sense that everybody knew that it was going to be big, but how big and how impactful, no one really knew. And unfortunately, it of course did contribute. I think there was a struggle to deal with the overnight fame and with the issues that arose that Kurt Cobain was having, along with his own personal trauma. We'll dive into it just a little bit further, but I figured on this day, the 30th anniversary of the death of Kurt Cobain, let's take a look back at the MTV News announcement.
I'm Kurt Loder with MTV News. Nirvana leader Kurt Cobain, an extraordinarily gifted singer, songwriter, and guitarist, was found dead in Seattle on Friday morning, apparently a suicide. His body was found at a house that he owned but didn't live in anymore on Lake Washington Boulevard. He was discovered by an electrician who was doing some work on the house. He had been killed by a blast to the head from a 12-gauge shotgun, and a suicide note found nearby, according to the electrician who found him, ended with the words, "I love you, I love you, I love you."
U2 has begun a journey of rediscovery with a whole bunch of, basically some of their hit songs re-released, but in versions you've never heard before. Collections of all kinds of demos, remastered singles, and some of the versions of songs, and even B-sides you've never heard before. The entire collection is called To Love and Only Love, Deep Dives and B-sides, and they've started off with Discotheque, 27 years after it originally was released by the Irish rock band. And that is already out, but the rest of this series is going to be released in 10 parts throughout the rest of 2024 for the super fans. We've also got some sad news to get to this morning. A big member of several groups and a producer of so much music, Keith LeBlanc, has passed away. He was largely associated with Grandmaster Flash as well as 9 Inch Nails, working as producer as well as drummer, but that's hardly the entire extent of his career. He passed away. It was announced by members of former bands that he was in as of April 4th.
Thanks for listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
Total eclipse of the sun. Monday it's happening across, largely North America gets to see it. We're not in the band, the very, very thin band along the surface of the planet that gets to see the Ring of Fire. Just listen to the Johnny Cash song instead. But it's going to happen on Monday. Alberta will be able to see the total solar eclipse. Maybe not the very center of it, but we'll definitely be able to see some umbra action as we go into the shadow of the moon. And of course, safety. Safety first. Make sure that you aren't staring directly at it. Make sure you got yourself that filter, those shades that you can get. In fact, I did see that the Heritage Village gift shop has got them for sale. I'm sure it's not the only spot in town, but only one that I know for sure of. The actual eclipse begins just before noon here in Alberta and is going to basically be over by about 1:30. You can also, of course, do the pinhole lens system. We made those crafts in grade school. The instructions are online. Have at her. Just be safe while you're watching on Monday as we all gather at about noon to ignore all the duties we've got at work and watch the sky for a moment. It's kind of magical. Interview with Danny McBride, a very, very funny man in GQ magazine where he talks about a lot of different things, of course, but one thing that is catching people's attention is he's talking about how movie theaters selling booze doesn't really make sense to him. Says you're going to have to pee. I'd just fall asleep. These are very real arguments. But he says something a bit more green goes perfectly with movies in his opinion, but unless you're going with some gummies or something like that, which people just do already, the smell is going to be a bother to other people trying to watch a movie. The solution to me is so simple, and it's a solution to several different other things, several other problems all at the same time. Just bring back the theater intermission. You can go pee, you can get snacks, you can go hack your favorite dart of choice and jump back in without having to be whisper told what just happened to catch up. Come on. You know you want to see that Let's Go, I'll Go to the Lobby jingle just one more time. And then one more time after that. And then make it a regular thing again because we need a break.
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruz FM.